there like any of the philosophies of like teaching kids or anything? Like, do you bring any of that sort of thought to your food making as well, like, or anything of that sort? Like,
Oh, that's a good question. I never really thought about it. You know, it's all an art. You know, making food and making music. Music obviously is an art, but making food is also, and by that I mean, like you need to. Like it's all like a reflection of what's happening in the world.
Welcome to Gluten Free YYC. My name is Maggie Mackenzie and I live in Calgary, Alberta, aka YYC. I've been diagnosed with celiac disease for about 10 years now. And that means that I can't safely eat gluten.
Celiac disease is an autoimmune disease and it causes a permanent disability to digest gluten. And gluten is found in wheat, in barley, in rye, and in triticale. And it's a protein. When you are diagnosed with celiac disease, that means that you cannot digest that protein that is found in gluten.
Eating gluten-free comes with plenty of challenges, but eating out is one of the biggest. That's why I'm excited to be showing you some of Calgary's fully gluten-free restaurants and bakeries.
Well, I'm Scott Arnold, and this is the Asylum for Art. It started out as a music school was the original intention, and I would do a handful of concerts. And then the pandemic hit, and the city was kind of giving me a bit of a hassle about having shows here and whatnot, so I got all the proper permits and all that stuff, and we opened a restaurant. And so the reason for it being gluten-free is because I have a side business prior to opening this place called Mob Natural Foods, and we would make pierogies and sauerkraut and a few other things that were also all gluten-free. And so the reason why we made this gluten-free primarily was because I don't want to have any cross-contamination with the other line, and we're using the same kitchen and all that stuff. So, and then just one thing sort of led to another, and I just got really good at making proper food gluten-free. And so that's the story of the conception of it. And then we can't go back from there. It's like once you call yourself a gluten-free restaurant, you can't not be a gluten-free restaurant. And anyway, I feel better about it anyhow to have it be gluten-free. So
Yeah.
that way I can eat here as well. So it would have been January 2020 when we opened up this place.
Oh man.
So I'd been teaching for years. I moved to Calgary 15 years ago, and I was teaching at Mount Royal University, and just sort of gradually moved away from that, and then eventually needed a new space, and so I rented this space for that. So yeah, January 2020 is when that happened, and then it was July of 2020, sort of in that first re-emerging from the pandemic, from that first lockdown, that we opened the place as a restaurant. You know, and it had, like, obviously it's not a good time, but it's interesting because there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. So I would have, like, I do tons of video work now, and I don't know if the restaurant would have actually been here because I had 3 months of nothing to do to finish building the place. So anyway, it is what it is, and you know, there's always going to be ups and downs in everything that you do, and this is where we are now. Well, I'm not celiac myself. I do have sensitivity to it for sure, and so I can have it in small amounts, and I just feel like it's just a healthier place for me to be, and as and so it's just a choice that I've made. So I make my exceptions, like I do like drinking beer and a few things, but and I certainly can respect people who have like a major sensitivity to it, that they can't eat any of it. So unfortunately, I haven't had anybody say that there's been any problems with anything that we've made. So I guess we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have dinner food and we have breakfast food. So for dinner, our gnocchi is kind of our main dinner thing. And then we have our pierogies, which is part of our wholesale business or retail business. And we actually just started selling our gnocchi as well,
Oh, cool.
which is like just this week.
Oh, wow.
It just went up on the, so hopefully it'll be in grocery stores coming pretty quick.
Amazing.
So anyway, the gnocchi and the pierogies, and then the waffles we have for dinner too. Like we have savory waffles as well as sweet waffles. And then as far as we're a live music venue, so a lot of times people are just coming for the music, and we have tons of stuff that people will share, like cheese plates and charcuterie boards and nachos and desserts and stuff like that as well. So that's the dinner part. And then for breakfast, the frittatas are kind of my favorite thing, and the waffles, and we have huevos rancheros on the menu, and I guess that's mostly what we have going on. Yeah,
Nice.
so the frittatas, anyway, those are my favorite things.
Nice. Yeah, I love that you like have them in the little like muffin tins or like keeps them crispy. That's like always my qualm with a frittata is it gets like watery and soggy in the middle.
Yeah,
And
I can feel you on that one.
yeah, yours are not soggy, which
Good.
is amazing. What are like the best sellers or kind of like the favorites, the ones that everyone's like raving about?
Oh, well, the waffles, you know, and especially for being gluten-free. People who are celiac or whatever, it's like, I haven't had a waffle in 10 years. And so they come here and it's all of a sudden they can have a waffle that tastes like a waffle. So the waffles, anyway, definitely we sell tons of them. And I guess we call our breakfast the Waffle House Saloon. So people sort of expected to have that. And then, yeah, and then the gnocchi seems to be going over very well lately. We've kind of just changed the recipe a little bit, and it's really, really good, I think.
Yeah,
So,
no, it was so tasty.
Yeah.
I also love that like the way you prepared it was like a little crispy as well. I was like, yeah, this is good.
yeah, that's we were boiling it up until recently, and so now we just pan fry it, and
nice.
it works out way better, I think. So,
Yeah, I really liked
yeah,
it.
good.
Yeah.
So we do live music every Friday and Saturday night, and we have live music on Sunday night as well. That's more of an open mic, and sort of various things happen on Sunday night. And we do live music for breakfast on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Monday to Thursday, we're a music school, so we typically don't have live music, but sometimes we do. So we're going to definitely continue doing all of that with the live music. And, you know, I'm not even really sure. Like, it seems to evolve. Like, this place has sort of happened by accident. So just one thing happens and I react and do something. And so it's difficult to say. So definitely we're going to keep doing more music. Last night we had a Cuban band, and they always do really, really well here, and people have a really good time. So it's definitely something I'm looking to do, more Latin music. But we have lots of jazz, lots of classical music, sort of everything that's sort of not mainstream.
Group classes, right? You do group classes as well?
Yep,
Yeah.
group classes here, and we do lessons in guitar, piano, violin, voice. We have a choir, we have an adult choir, adult guitar classes.
Amazing.
Kids club, we have a preschool program,
Nice.
a kids theater class.
Amazing.
Well, it's definitely gotten a lot better. So when I started making the pierogies and all the stuff that I made, that was, it's got to be 6 years ago now. Like, it was pretty hard to find anything good. And so definitely the quality of gluten-free has gotten a lot better. Hopefully it'll become a little bit less expensive. So I do my best to keep my prices as low as I can, but you know, it's just the nature of the beast where all of my materials are expensive, and it's super difficult to work with. That a lot of times you can't use like big machines to do stuff because it's just so difficult. Anyway, so hopefully that will happen. It would be nice if like one of the things about gluten-free for me is that the production of wheat is in a pretty terrible state right now, and so hopefully there'll be some sort of influence on making like the actual not gluten-free stuff better, because I feel, and maybe I'm entirely wrong on this, but I feel that part of the reason why there is so much gluten-free is because wheat is so terrible right now, and it's really just making people sick. Anyway, I could be entirely wrong with that. Don't sue me. So anyway, hopefully there's definitely a lot more. It's definitely getting a lot better, and hopefully that's going to continue. So we have, you know, a handful of products, and we're putting some more out there, and I think that it matches anything that's not gluten-free, which when I started it, you could never be able to find a pierogi that you could cook. Well, we sell it here, and then we have, there's a place in the Deep South called Fresh and Local, and so they have the pierogis, and they have my hot sauce, and the sauerkraut. And I have, like I say, we just released the gnocchi, so I haven't even approached them with that yet. And the waffles we're going to be putting in the stores as well. And then Margarita's Kitchen in the Calgary Farmers Market.
Oh, okay.
They sell their own pierogis, but they want gluten-free ones as well, so they sell mine. And that's it for now. For the last, there was a bunch of places sort of pre-pandemic that we had some stuff, but I've been focusing more on the venue over the last few years, and so now I'm going to put a little bit more effort into getting it into some more stores.
Amazing.
So hopefully it'll be everywhere you go. Is the plan.
Yes, I would love to see that.
Yeah. The most important thing. Well, to make sure that, you know, you put out quality and you're good to people and everybody is happy, and if you can't accomplish that, then what's really the point in any of the stuff that you do? So just make sure that everything is good quality and everybody feels like they are getting what they want, or how, I don't know exactly how to put that, but you know, essentially that's what I want. Okay, so what did I make for you? So you had two waffles. You had the banana split waffle and the fungi waffle. I think those are the two that I made for you. So the banana split waffle, that one actually was dairy-free as well. So we can do our waffles dairy-free as well. And the whipped cream was coconut as well. And then just lots of sugar and chocolate. And berries. I like putting fruit on everything. And then the fungi waffle with the portobello mushrooms and a cream sauce and with Swiss cheese and chives. And then there's a dipping sauce with a lime creme. So. And then next you had the gnocchi. So those that's our the gnocchi, which we have retail as well, and it had a Mediterranean sauce on it, which is with a marinara and olives and feta cheese and basil. And then we have these little tapioca buns that go on the side, and then there's a spinach salad with mandarin oranges, and spinach salad's always a little different. I don't remember exactly what I put on that.
I think there was maybe blueberries as well.
Oh, it was the sour cherries.
Oh, okay.
On the salad, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and pine nuts probably. And then we had pierogis. So you had the black bean pierogis, and so those are actually fermented black beans with white onions.
Oh, okay.
And then there's tomatoes, cilantro, jalapenos, and I think that's all and cheese is in that. And then there's the sauerkraut. We hand make our own sauerkraut as well. And the red stuff is half red, half green sauerkraut, or cabbage, and it has caraway seeds in it. Yeah. And then the green one is just straight green sauerkraut. And then the gluten-free pierogis. And then we had two types of frittatas that I made for you guys too. I was pumping out the food for you guys. I hope you guys aren't hungry still.
No, we're stuffed.
Okay,
I was like, I might have to unbutton my pants.
Good. So yeah, the frittatas. So one was the mushroom frittata, and one was the I guess the Mediterranean frittata. So the mushroom frittata is similar to what we use for the waffle. We also make a mushroom gnocchi as well, which is in an Alfredo sauce. But so this was like Swiss cheese and chives, and then the Mediterranean one has tomatoes and sun-dried tomatoes and feta cheese on that one.
Yeah, they're so good.
And then I gave you a few sides. We have like the caprese side, which is tomatoes, mozzarella, and basil with the balsamic reduction on it, and avocados, hash browns. Yeah, and so those are sort of the overview of the things that we make here.
After the interview, I was dying to taste the food, but I didn't want to do it alone, so I invited a friend to come and join me to try the food and chat about their experience with celiac disease.
My name is Alison Robinson, and I have been officially celiac since October of last year, so not even a year.
Oh, wow.
My relationship with eating out is complicated. I'm sure you feel the same. There's a lot more anxiety around eating out now. You have to think 3 times as hard about any place you want to go. You have to research twice as hard. There's complications around, you can't just go across the road to whatever fast food place is there. I miss McDonald's a lot, which I never thought was going to be a thing. But there's something comforting about greasy fast food that I can't have now. So yeah, it's a lot more work, I think, is the biggest thing. And then when I'm at the location, if it's not a dedicated gluten-free location, there's also a lot of anxiety around, will this make me feel sick? Will this not make me feel sick? Maybe it'll just be fine. How much does the server know? How helpful are they going to be to me? Even if the server is great, how much does the kitchen know? They can still mess up in the back. It's happened before. Yeah. And I think once it happens once, then you're extra nervous about it happening again. I've probably been celiac my whole life. So although my journey has only been like a year long, it's actually probably a lot longer. I didn't know that it ran in the family until a couple of years ago. My aunt got diagnosed in her 60s, and that was sort of the first time that I'd heard that it even was a thing in our family. So I was diagnosed, I don't know if it's called a diagnosis. I was confirmed lactose intolerant when I was in junior high, so like a hot minute ago. So I've been that for a long time. So anytime any icky feelings happened, I just kind of assumed it was due to the lactose intolerance. Like I'd be like, oh, well, there was cheese on that sandwich, or a little bit of milk in whatever the thing is. That was not the case. It was the bread. Surprise. Yeah. And so I didn't flag anything early on, again, because I didn't know around in the family, so it didn't even occur to me to think about it. And I really don't think I knew anything about celiac disease until like the last 5 years. I feel like it existed for many people, but like not in my world. So yeah, I didn't flag it right away. And looking back, when I was around like 18 and starting to go to bars and figure out what I would like to drink, a lot of people were like, drink beer, that's what I drank. And I remember trying beer and thinking, it's really gross, I don't like it, but it's probably an acquired taste. Right. So I kept trying, and every time I'd try, I'd get like an inch into a pint glass, and then it would feel like my throat was just like telling me no. Like, don't swallow this. So then I would stop drinking it. It would get warm and flat, and then I wouldn't want to drink it anyway. Right. And then it would kind of just go to waste. And that happened a number of times over and over before I finally was like, okay, so my body doesn't like beer. Let's drink something else. So I switched to cider, and that was fine. But that still was not a red flag for me. It maybe should have been, but again, without knowing anything about celiac disease, it didn't even occur to me to be like, problem. So, yeah, it wasn't until the last couple years I've been kind of, like, I knew more people with celiac disease. I'd been hearing more about it. And then when my aunt was diagnosed, I was like, oh, there's the flag of like, maybe we should get tested. And then we had moved to Calgary in 2019, so we didn't have a family doctor here yet. And then the pandemic, everything happened, and we thought, well, we'll just put off finding a family doctor. And so it wasn't until we got a family doctor last year that I was like, let's ask to be tested. And then it turns out my late grandfather also was likely celiac, so runs on my dad's side of the family. Oh, wow. And then, yeah, I started the process in like June last year. You have to do the blood test first, and everything takes time. You know, you do the lab stuff, and then you have to wait for results to come back, and then you have to wait to talk to your doctor, and then you have to wait for an appointment to see a specialist to do the endoscopy, and so it's a lot of waiting. So it was officially diagnosed in October after I had the endoscopy, which was I wouldn't recommend. It really sucked. A place where my celiac disease comes up that people don't think about, that even I didn't think about until it happened, was buying dog treats and then giving my dogs snacks
yeah.
because their food is in the kitchen. So I just noticed this like a couple days ago. We bought dentist sticks for the dogs. I like broke it in half to give to the dogs. And then I actually just happened to look at the back of the package because it didn't even occur to me to read it beforehand. Yeah. Wheat is the first ingredient. And I was like, oh, I guess I need to wash my hands really hard after this because otherwise I would have given them the treats and then walked over and made myself something in the kitchen and just continued on and like a big cross-contamination flag right there. Yeah, so like weird stuff like that where it didn't even occur to me that like my dog's food was going to be a weird problem.
Yeah, you don't think about food that like you're not eating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I do think about food I'm not eating because I live with my partner,
right? Yeah,
who's not celiac, but we have a system now. Like he has a corner. We call it the gluten corner. That's in our like dining room. So he has his own toaster, his own like mini fridge for his bagels because that's like the one thing he doesn't want to give up, which is fair. I get it. Yeah, so he's got like a corner, but the dogs don't have a corner.
Yeah,
it's a different situation with the dogs, and then they drag that stuff like around the house. Right. Which also didn't even occur to me, like, if they're eating a treat on the carpet, now it's in the carpet, so is that going to be, like, a problem for me later? I've also seen gluten listed on shampoo ingredients before, which is strange.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too many of them. But yeah, you really have to, like, read the back of everything. I wish that people understood more about cross-contamination. I think that's the biggest one because that's where often issues arise with good-intentioned friends or restaurants even where you're ordering. Like literally last night I ordered gluten-free pasta from a place because I didn't feel like making food and then they included bread on top. And I was like... so cool, like it says on the receipt in big red letters gluten allergy, but then they also still included bread, so someone in the kitchen or someone packaging doesn't understand what a gluten allergy is. When I was diagnosed and I had to revamp my whole kitchen, I had to get rid of my bread machine that I love and like a whole bunch of things, like the toaster I had to replace and like cutlery and cutting boards and all kinds of things. And a lot of people don't realize like gluten is in everything. And especially like wooden utensils, wooden cutting boards, things like that absorb it. Yeah. So I think that's probably my biggest thing. I just wish people knew more about like how careful you have to be. And it is a bigger deal than it seems like it is. Yeah. Food. I have never found a gluten-free croissant. That's what, I don't know why, maybe they exist.
I had one in Vancouver.
Okay, have you found one here?
I haven't found one here yet.
And that's my one thing that I keep, like I really miss croissants, but I don't know how easy it is to make like a flaky pastry with gluten-free.
I think it's hard.
I think so, otherwise they would exist.
I don't bake at all, so I wouldn't know from experience, but I've heard it's hard. Yeah. I used to bake a lot more. It's difficult now, and you need a lot more like expensive baking materials that I didn't need to have before, so I haven't done as much of it since being diagnosed. Instead of just flour, it's like these 8 types of flours and also this binder that you like have to find. Like
I'd never heard of xanthium gum before last year.
Right?
I was like, what's that? Oh, I need it in everything now? Cool. Yeah. I would love to see this sounds lazy, but products like what HelloFresh does, but something that's geared towards celiacs that's safe for them, because that's something that I used to do is like meal kits, and I can't trust them quite enough anymore. And HelloFresh, as an example, it's one that my family uses. They have they list everything out so that you can replace things like soy sauce, for example. But then why am I paying all this money just to replace like half the items in a meal kit? And I was doing research about this actually at the time because I was like, maybe I can find something. There's nothing here, but the States actually has some really cool programs that are like everything is organic and gluten-free and all the list of all the other allergens so that you can still like learn to cook, especially for people who like don't really know how to cook. And I think when you're initially diagnosed celiac, it's really hard to figure out how to make meals that are not just Like, I bought gluten-free bread and made a sad sandwich.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like the first step when you're diagnosed, is like, I guess I'll buy gluten-free bread, but I don't know what kind, and there's 1,200 kinds in the store. And like, what I did was I bought the one that looked most like normal bread, and not the ones that were like this big.
Yeah.
Which conveniently, I happened to choose one that was pretty good.
Nice.
But I don't think that everybody gets that lucky. And I know that it's evolved a lot over time, because I'm sure that there used to only be the little tiny loaves of bread before. So I know that there's more products now, which is great. It doesn't feel like you're missing out on as much. But yeah, meal kits would be great. It would be great if there were fast food places that existed that had options so that you could take things to go. Because there are some places in the city that are like little cafes that if you live near them, you could pop in and grab something. But if you don't, they're not convenient. And there just isn't convenient gluten-free food options. Yeah. And again, call me lazy, but everybody else gets convenient food.
Yeah.
I want convenient food too.
Yeah.